Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. We're glad you're here. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Very glad. We'll also be very glad when you subscribe to our podcast below in the description.
Also, check out Geology. Geology.com/ham. This is the Vital Morning Face Cream I put on this morning. I could tell I had a little sunscreen, which was good when I went and hit balls at the golf course today, John.
You hit them straight, Guy?
Some of them.
Repairing night cream for, when you wash before you go to bed. That's something that, our significant others are very good at. And being a guy, you're like, I'll just go to bed. So you got to wash and then you got to repair, Guy. So you wake up, your face is nice and supple.
All right, Middlecoff. Narrative time. Benjamin Albright tweeted this. A lot of buzz connecting Fields to the Niners with the third pick in the last 24 hours. Then he added, just had a conversation with people around the league. Quote from a division rival, I'll believe Mac Jones when I see Roger Goodell read the card, and even then I'm checking for CGI. If the quote was like, quote from anonymous host of Haberman and Middlecoff, the quote would be like, I never believed Mac Jones.
Yeah, well, I think
it's not done yet. I'm not taking a victory lap here.
Part of the buzz is when you see the two of them together, and it went pretty viral, and I think Ohio State knew what they were doing, and it behooves Ohio State to have Justin Fields go to Kyle, right? They want him to become a 49er. He gets to go with Bosa, and it gives him the best chance to succeed. Then all of a sudden, Ohio State, which, they're a bigger brand than Clemson. I'd say they're probably right. Alabama, you'd have to give the nod, just Saban, the history, but I'd put Ohio State like 1B. Having a star quarterback.
Now, you crazy if I think Ohio State's a bigger brand?
Yeah, maybe just nationally, just with a random guy. Probably diehard football people would lean Alabama, but we could argue it. Regardless, it's like, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson or something. It's like, what are we really arguing?
Yeah.
If they could get a star quarterback with the 49ers, like that would be a big deal to a program who, like I said, is already a massive deal, right?
Yeah.
It would change the game for them. And they already have changed the game. So I think they want him to go there. But part of it was he didn't go to the first pro day. There aren't like these rumors. They wouldn't even be rumors. They'd just be facts. Remember when the Eagles were trying to decide on Carson Wentz or Jared Goff, they went to both their pro days and took them to dinner. And I remember being like a photo going viral. It was like this dude like behind a table. And it was like Jeffrey Lurie, Doug Peterson, Howie, and Wentz. Well, that would have happened with Justin Fields, right? And Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. If this was normal, like next year, that would take place. But right now, it's like the only way Kyle could actually get an in-person feel for him was kind of make sense why he did a second pro day. Did he do a second pro day for his health, or did he do it because the Niners wanted to see it? Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, I think that was kind of a Niners orchestrated deal. And like we had talked about on other videos this week, that there are also elements of like Atlanta was there. Well, Denver, I've been told, sniffing around on Jimmy / sniffing around on trading up. Belichick's there, also sniffing around on trading with Atlanta and sniffing around on Jimmy. So it was like a convention for business with all the GMs and coaches and the decision makers of all these teams interconnected, and a throwing session for also other guys that are interested in quarterbacks that don't know yet exactly what Kyle wants, but Kyle definitely wanted to see him. And to me, the number one video that kind of went viral out of that day was those two talking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And look, Trey Lance will have his pro day next week, and we'll observe Kyle and Trey talking maybe. I would expect. We'll see what those images look like, and we'll probably make a video after we watch that tape. But it feels, what Kyle feels like watching some of that Fields Pro Day 2.0 to me? Kyle feels the way you feel your senior year of high school after you've like everything is done and you already know you're going to pass the classes you have to pass, and now you can just cruise and just enjoy yourself. And you still have to go, so you still go, but you don't have your backpack and you're just hanging out and it's a good time. Now that Kyle's up at number 3, and this is if part of that is knowing already in your heart who he's going to take, right? He's already watched all the film on Fields. He's watched all the film on Lance. He's going to go see him because why not? When do I get to do this? I don't ever get to do this. Just walk around, go to Ohio State, go watch Justin Fields as part of doing the due diligence. And, maybe we do a deal with somebody else while we're there. So, you and I go back and forth on does he know who he's going to draft? If he doesn't, how does what he saw at the pro day change anything, right? for Fields or for Lance. Doesn't mean you don't do it, but I can't imagine you watch all the tape you've watched and then the pro day is what breaks the tie. So I wonder if did people who were at that pro day, is Benjamin Albright hearing this from, 7 people, several other teams were at that pro day, other coaches, other scouts, the Ohio State guys were all there. Ryan Day was there. He's talking to people. Justin Fields. Justin Fields might be telling people, I'm feeling pretty good after I talked to Kyle. I mean, part of this could be people reading what they saw, whether it was the images that Ohio State put out or when they just were there watching it. Because Kyle has told us, I don't have anything to hide anymore. Doesn't mean he's going to come out and tell us who he's going to pick. But maybe it does mean we can read into his actions a little bit more.
Well, the Mac Jones talk by the lead draft people, right? Mel Kiper, been on the podcast, Daniel Jeremiah, and I would just say other people in NFL circles that have public voices. Adams, the biggest reporter of my lifetime. They have been very, very adamant about the Mac Jones, Kyle Shanahan. Not a connection, not like, he likes quarterbacks that look like that play like that they're going to draft Mac Jones. Like that's not some made up narrative. That's a runaway train. And it was just one of those where we kept pushing back like I don't know. I don't buy it. And then you just see Justin Fields obviously talking to Clad about it.
That's a part of it.
But just watching Justin Fields, you go, in what fucking world would you take Mac Jones over Justin Fields? Like I don't think there is one. And there wasn't one in high school recruiting. Because think about this, guy. If Justin Fields, if that year, the year, I guess they might not be the same year in high school, but if they were coming out to Nick Saban had one scholarship offer for a quarterback, and Nick Saban 3 or 4 years ago, right? Let's just say they were in the same class. I think Mac's a year older. Nick Saban would have taken Justin Fields over Mac Jones, right?
Yeah. Correct. Without hesitating.
Without hesitation. I mean, he would have taken Justin Fields over Mac Jones.
It's a credit to Mac Jones, but Nick Saban's plan, if we just look at the way his quarterbacks have played out, probably was never for Mac Jones necessarily to play, right?
No.
So now, I mean, there was that gap here between Tua and what comes next now, but Saban's not. It's almost unfair to Mac Jones because he's worthy of a lot of the stuff that he.
Well, yeah, and he's a good player, and most years I think he'd be very good pick in the late 20s to early 30s. That to me is my value for him. But when we just talk about these quarterbacks, that Justin Fields, like to me, Tua, massive recruit. Trevor Lawrence, massive recruit. Now at Alabama, Bryce Love, massive recruit. Justin Fields, massive recruit. That just wasn't the case with Mac. Now, that does not determine your success or failure. We know that. But my point is, part of being a massive recruit and then being a good player like Justin Fields, and you watch this pro day, but really you just know the physical gifts, and then with Kyle, and then like the character stuff's really good. You're like, what more can you ask for? So there aren't perfect prospects.
So if Justin Fields gets drafted 3rd overall by the 49ers, you will think what about the last month and a half?
Well, it was just I'd be a little surprised that like some of these people went so hard for so long. Like they must have felt pretty confident from coming. Like I would never say that without having like, unless Kyle or John Lynch is telling these people and they got played like a fiddle, which happens every year. The media is there to be played this time of year. And it's a tried and true rinse, wash, repeat formula. But this one was like, it didn't make that much sense. I mean, it did make a little sense. That's part of it, right? There was it was understandable, but I think the more and more you just like, what are we talking about here? In what world are we?
Yeah, I think the first time that I started thinking, well, let's think about this a little deeper, was when it was everybody unanimously with 5 weeks until the draft. It didn't feel right. And we said as much at the time. It wasn't that we knew, and it's even now. It's not that we know he's not drafting Mac Jones. But the more you talk about Justin Fields and the more you think about how these things usually go, they don't, especially with the Niners, who we know they're not out there telling everybody what they're doing. That's not in their background under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch.
Well, I would say in recent memory, if Justin Fields is the Niners pick at number 3, this was one of those stories that was everyone, like you said, was very adamantly coming about it. I will never take any of these. Like, I don't remember last 3 or 4, 5 years, a story like this where everyone thought it was going to be, and then all of a sudden it was the complete other guy.
Just remember,
I'll never take one of these stories seriously again during this, probably late March leading up to the draft story ever again.
Just because remember, it wasn't everybody. Just remember that.
No, but it was. But I'm just saying, like, I think every fan you talk to, everyone that text chain I'm on for the 49ers, they're the ones that, like, is it really going to be Mac Jones? Because that's what they're like, I know you say Justin Fields, but everything else I watch or Trey Lance, it says Mac Jones. How would you ever take a story seriously again moving forward, just coming from the mass sports media about it during the draft time again? It'd be hard.
Yeah, but again, it would go back to what we've done, which is you think about it critically.
I know
Justin Fields,
we do,
Fields
but we're outliers here, guy.
Justin Fields now the odds-on favorite to be drafted by the Niners at 3. Just saw that story. You know what it'd be like? You know when you like watch a show, a mystery show, and at the end they solve the mystery, and you realize they told you what was going to happen in like the first 30 seconds, but then the whole show or the movie transpires, and they distract you the whole time. And then in the end, it was like, the whole thing was right there in the beginning. And they tricked me into thinking that would be Fields. It'd be like, I'm pretty sure Fields is really good. And then you spend all this time going along the script. And then in the end, it's back to where we started, which is kind of what this feels like. Back to where we started.
And the ultimate take, I think, with every 49er fan, I played golf with one yesterday, who, when I said, hey, man, I think it's going to be Justin Fields, he got this huge smile on his face. He's like, what do you mean? He was an older guy. He's like, I thought it was going to be Mac Jones. I'm like, no, I don't think that. I think that if you're not super locked in and you're just kind of a casual observer, but you're a big 49er guy, I think you kind of feel, not everyone's living and dying by it like me and you. You might just turn on TV for 10 seconds and see it. And
did you send him the link to the YouTube?
Yeah, I became buddies. He's actually, I'll tell you off air, business with the Niners, diehard Niner guy. But I made his day when I told him I don't think it's going to be Mac Jones. And again, I'm not, Klatt said this, I'm not anti-Mac Jones. I actually think, like, he'd be fine, right?
It's not.
I think he will be fine.
It's not what you trade up to 3.
You can't draft him at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.